Shalom, shalom, family. Happy Sabbath. Peace and blessings to you and your households. Let us begin. Let us check the sound. We're good.
Good.
I
Okay.
think we're good.
All right. Shalom, everyone. Everyone stand, face the east. Men, uncover your heads. Women, cover your heads. Israel, blow trumpet. Oh, Heavenly Father, I want to thank you today, Lord, for all of us come together to learn your word. I ask you to continue blessing Israel as we struggle in this society, in this evil world. I ask you to keep walking with us, Lord, as we continue our studies to become better people. I ask you to continue blessing our young men and the current men who are in this walk, trying to teach others, trying to help redeem our people who are still struggling, who are still in evil. I ask you to bless our sisters as they learn together to teach each other so that they can be better Israelite women. So the men can be better Israelite men. I want to thank you for another Sabbath, Lord, where we all come together honoring your name. In Christ's name we pray, amen.
All praises, all praises. Good prayer, brother. Good prayer, good prayer, good prayer. Shalom, family. Happy Sabbath. Happy day of destruction of Nicanor and that observation. We went through that yesterday. It's beautiful, man, just to read the history. Just to read the history in and of itself is a beautiful thing. And guess what we're gonna do today? We're gonna follow suit. Why? Because we have Purim coming up. And like the day of the destruction of Nicanor, okay, it's going to be another perfect example of the Most High delivering us from the hands of our enemies. And that's what we want to give thanks and all praise to the Most High for. That deliverance, man. Okay? Just like once we get delivered from here, we're going to be giving him all praises because we ain't got to worry about another damn captivity. So all praise to the Father, man. We're gonna jump right into it. If y'all don't like to read, this ain't gonna be the class for you because we finna read today. We're gonna go through the history of Esther, understand the understanding of Mordecai, okay, wicked Haman. All right. So we're gonna jump. I want a verse real quick though. I want a verse because I was meditating on this. Give me Proverbs 16:7. Proverbs chapter 16, verse 7. I want y'all to understand something about the Most High God, man, and the relationship we have with the Father. Proverbs chapter 16, verse 7. Read that for me, bro.
Proverbs chapter 16 and verse 7. When a man's ways please the Lord, he maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him.
I want y'all to remember this as we read the history that we're about to go over. The scripture says, when a man's ways please the Lord, meaning you keeping his commandments, you're abiding in his law, statutes, and commandments, you have faith in him, okay? When a man's ways please the Lord, he maketh even his enemies be at peace with him. So even in situations where we're in captivity, the Lord can ease the hearts of the enemy so that they're at peace with you. So you're able to do what? Keep the commandments. You're able to sacrifice during the time of our foreparents. Not now. And I don't know. I was just talking to brothers. Man, I don't know what the Old Testament Israelites doing to atone for their sins. But you can't sacrifice unless it's like one of those mental sacrifices where you envision a lamb and you envision yourself killing it, because a lot of them ain't atoning for anything right now. But I digress. Let's go. Let's go. Let's jump straight into it, brothers. Let's go to the book of Esther. I'm going to start at Esther chapter 1, verse 1.
The book of Esther.
Now, this book is short. It's not long. It's 10 chapters. You know what I'm saying? It's not long. So we're just going to go through this history. And I like the additions to the rest of the book of Esther because it actually elaborates a little bit more. We might read that. That's only 4 chapters. So 14 chapters in total, but we're going to get it in.
The book of Esther, chapter 1 and verse 1.
Come
Now
on.
it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus. This is Ahasuerus, which reigned from India even unto Ethiopia, over 107 provinces. That in those days, when King Ahasuerus sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan, the palace.
So Shushan, that used to be the capital of Elam, if I'm not mistaken. Shushan, okay? It's the Middle East area. Matter of fact, I think, hold on a second. These are actual places, ladies and gentlemen. These are actual people that reign. Ahasuerus, okay, and Shushan. So if you think that the Bible is a mythical book that only talks about mythical beings, it's not the case. I got this. Let me share this real quick. Let me see. Is that it right there? Yeah. Let me know when you see it.
It's on screen right now.
All right, so Shushan, it means a lily, the Susa of Greek and Roman writers. So when you read Susa, it's actually talking about the land of Shushan as well. Okay. Once the capital of Elam, who are the Elamites today?
India.
So-called East Indians, India. It lay in the uplands of Susanna on the east of the Tigris. That's the Tigris River, about 150 miles up to the north of the head of the Persian Gulf, what we call the Middle East. Okay, the Persian Gulf. Shush. That's it. That's all we need. So I just wanted to explain this. These are real places. These are real places, real people. All right. Let's read on.
Verse 3. In the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes and his servants, the power of Persia and Media, the nobles and princes of the provinces, being before him. When he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty many days, even 180 days. And when these days were expired, the king made a feast unto all the people that were present in Shushan the palace, both unto great and small, 7 days in the court of the garden of the king's palace.
So he made a display, he made a feast, and he was just showing off his kingdom. Okay, he was showing off his kingdom to those that were round about him, princes, things of that nature. Come on.
Where were white, green, and blue hangings, fastened with cords of fine linen and purple, to silver rings and pillars of marble. The beds were of gold and silver, upon a pavement of red and blue and white and black marble. And they gave them drink in vessels of gold, the vessels being diverse one from another, and royal wine in abundance, according to the state of the king.
So he had royal wine. He had the best wine. He was feeding them drink out of gold cups. This kingdom was bad. This is a serious kingdom right here. Come on.
And the drinking was according to the law. None did compel. For so the king had appointed to all the officers of his house, that they should do according to every man's pleasure. Also Vashti the queen made a feast for the women in the royal house, which belonged to King Ahasuerus.
So Vashti, his queen, so he made a feast unto the princes and things of that nature. Vashti made a feast to the females, all the women. Okay, come on.
On the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Mehuman, Biztha, Harbana, Bigtha, and Abagtha, Zethar, and Carcas, the 7 chamberlains that served in the presence of Ahasuerus the king, to bring Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal, to show the people and the princes her beauty, for she was fair to look on.
So he wanted to show off. So not only the kingdom and all the pleasantries that was within the kingdom, he wanted to show off his wife as well, his queen, right? Come on.
But the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. Therefore was the king very wroth, and his anger burned in him. Then the king said to the wise men, which knew the times, for so was the king's manner toward all that knew the law and judgment. And the next unto him was Carshena.
Hold on. It says, then the king said to the wise men which knew the times, manner towards, for so the king's manner towards all that knew law and judgment. So the law was when that you could only come into the court when he called you. Okay. And when he called for you, you had to come. Right? When he held the scepter up, that was the law there. This ain't talking about the law of the Most High. I don't want y'all to get that confused. All right. He wasn't our people. So he instructed the people that he ruled and gave them laws and commandments. The chronicles of the things that happened here was actually written in books, just like our Bible was written in books. All right, but read on.
And the next unto him was Karshana, Shethar, Atmatha, Tarshish, Meres, Marsana, and Memicum, the 7 princes of Persia and Media, which saw the king's face, and which sat the first in the kingdom.
So think about this. He's showing off all his kingdom, giving the fine wine, setting up this feast. They drinking out of golden cups and things of that nature. Then he like, hey, bring my wife. He was so happy. He was excited. Bring my wife. Let me show her off. She said no. Now they're looking at his face. He's upset. He's pissed. He's wroth. They're looking at his face now. Okay. And then all the people that he invited are doing what? They're looking at his face. They're looking at, he can't even control his own house. That's looking bad upon their kingdom. Okay, come on.
What shall we do unto the queen Vashti according to law, because she had not performed the commandment of the king Ahasuerus by the chamberlains? And Memicam answered before the king and the princes, Vashti the queen had not done wrong to the king only, but also to all the princes and to all the people that are in all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus.
So they say, she ain't just disrespect you, king. She disrespected all of us. That's making all of us look bad. Okay, come on.
For this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women, so that they shall despise their husband in their eyes when it shall be reported.
So think about this. It says it shall come upon all women. What was Queen Vashti doing? She was hosting the women. She was being an example to them in regards to his kingdom. So she disregarded what the king said. What you think the other women gonna do?
To follow suit.
They're gonna follow suit. Come on.
The king Ahasuerus commanded Vashti the queen to be brought in before him, but she came not. Likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this unto all the king's princes, which have heard of the deed of the queen, thus shall there arise too much contempt and wrath. If it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of the Persians and the Medes, that it be not altered, that Vashti come no more before King Ahasuerus, and let the king give a royal estate unto another that is better than she.
So let the royal estate be given unto another woman, another queen. Appoint another queen. Let this be a commandment. Go ahead.
And when the king's decree, which he shall make, shall be published throughout all his empire, for it is great, all the wives shall give to their husbands honor, both to great and small. And the same pleased the king and the princes, and the king did according to the word of Memicam. For he sent letters into all the king's provinces, into every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language, that every man should bear rule in his own house, and that it should be published according to the language of every people. So
he sent a decree now. Rule your damn house. Rule your houses. Okay, come on.
After these things, when the wrath of King Ahasuerus was appeased, he remembered Vashti and what she had done, and what was decreed against her. Then said the king's servants and minister unto him, let there be fair young virgins sought for the king, and let the king appoint officers in all the provinces of his kingdom, that they may gather together all the fair young virgins unto Shushan the palace.
So gather all the women of marital age unto Shushan the palace. Come on.
To the house of the women, unto the custody of Hetch, the king's chamberlain, keeper of the women, and let their things for purification be given them.
So the things for purification was the oil, the spices, the things that they used to clean themselves. Okay, they would soak for a whole year in these things. So when they're presented to the king, there's no smell there. It's no bad smell. All right, this isn't a bad practice here. Go ahead.
And let the maiden which pleaseth the king be queen instead of Vashti. And the thing pleased the king, and he did so. Now in Shushan the palace was there a certain Jew whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjamite, who had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity which had been carried away with Jeconiah king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar the king of Babylon had carried away. And he brought up Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither the father nor mother, and the maid was fair and beautiful, whom Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took for his own daughter. So it came to pass, when the king's commandment and his decree was heard, and when many maidens were gathered together unto Shushan the palace, to the custody of Haggai, that Esther was brought also unto the king's house, to the custody of Haggai, the keeper of women.
So Esther was given too. Why? Because she was fair. She was beautiful. Esther was very, very beautiful. Okay, she was one of the women of marriageable ages within that region. Okay, so she was brought to him. Read on.
And the maiden pleased him, and she obtained kindness of him, and he speedily gave her things for purification, with such things as belonged to her, and 7 maidens which were meet to be given her out of the king's house. And
it said he speedily gave her the things of purification. He wanted to rush that thing. Don't make haste. Here, take this. And he gave her women. Okay, read on.
And he
preferred, 7 maidens.
And he preferred her and her maidens unto the best place of the house of the women,
and gave her the best place in the palace. Y'all see that? This all for beauty alone. But watch this. Come on.
Esther had not showed her people nor her kindred, for Mordecai had charged her that she should not show it.
So she didn't tell that she was a Jew. She didn't let on that she was a Jew, or that her people were the Jews. Come on.
And Mordecai walked every day before the court of the women's house to know how Esther did and what should become of her. Now when every maid's turn was come to go into King Ahasuerus, after that she had been 12 months, according to the manner of the women, for so were the days of their purifications accomplished, to wit 6 months with oil of myrrh, and 6 months with sweet odors, and with other things for the purifying of the women.
You see that? So 6 months of oil of myrrh, and then it's 6 months with sweet odors and with other things for the purifying of the women, to make sure they smelled great, they were beautiful, and that smell matched that beauty. But go ahead.
Then thus came every maiden unto the king, whatsoever she desired was given her to go with her out of the house of the women unto the king's house. In the evening she went, and on the morrow she returned into the second house of the women, to the custody of Shagash, the king's chamberlain, which kept the concubines. She came in unto the king no more, except the king delighted in her, and that she were called by name.
So he called her by name, particularly. Well, read on.
Now when the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her for his daughter, was come to go in unto the king, she required nothing but what Haggai the king's chamberlain, the keeper of women, appointed. And Esther obtained favor in the sight of all them that look upon her. So Esther was taken unto King Ahasuerus into his house royal in the 10th month, which is the month Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign. And the king loved Esther above all the women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti.
So this is the replacing of Vashti by Esther or Hadassah, right? Come on.
Then the king made a great feast unto all his princes and his servants, even Esther's feast. And he made a release to the promises and gave gifts according to the state of the king. And when the virgins were gathered together the second time, then Mordecai sat in the king's gate. Esther had not yet showed her kindred nor her people, as Mordecai had charged her. For Esther did the commandment of Mordecai, like as when she was brought up with him. In those days, while Mordecai sat in the king's gate, 2 of the king's chamberlains, Bigthan and Teresh, of those which kept the door, were wroth, and sought to lay hands on the king Ahasuerus. And the thing was known to Mordecai, who told it unto Esther the queen. And Esther certified the king thereof in Mordecai's name. And when inquisition was made of the matter, it was found out. Therefore they were both hanged on a tree, and it was written in the book of the Chronicles before the king.
So they had their own book of Chronicles. They kept documentation. This was common. Okay, so it was common for nations to document the things that was going on amongst them. All right, like we're reading the chronicles of our people today, our foreparents today, right now. All right, so Mordecai got wind that two men were attempting to kill the king. He told Esther, and Esther told the king. All right, it was found to be true. Those two men were put to death. Now, y'all want to keep this in mind because as we read later, this is going to play a major part in what goes on with Haman and Mordecai. Just keep this in, just lock that in. All right, read on.
After these things did King Ahasuerus promote Haman the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, and advance him, and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman. For the king had so commanded concerning him, but Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence.
So he didn't reverence him, or he ain't bowed to him. Okay. So Haman took it as great disrespect. But remember, Mordecai found favor with the king. So Haman really couldn't do anything about it, right? But read on.
Then the king's servants which were in the king's gate said unto Mordecai, Why transgressest thou the king's commandment? Now it came to pass, when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matter would stand, for he had told them that he was a Jew. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath.
So he was mad at him. He said he was mad at him for disrespecting him. So he was full of wrath once he found out, especially once he found out that he was a Jew. Come on.
And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had showed him the people of Mordecai, wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews that were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, even the people of Mordecai.
So he didn't want to just kill Mordecai. He wanted to kill everybody, all the Jews now. So his hatred was turned against all the Jews. Now, this is very heavy because everything happens for a reason. Like everything, every play is going to make sense. Those two men put to death. Haman raised up. The hatred of Haman for all the Jews that was in this territory or in his kingdom. I want y'all to keep those key pieces of understanding there. Keep that right in the forefront of your mind, because what's going to happen is we're going to see all those things come to play and how the Most High orchestrates everything. That thing is beautiful, man. And don't forget Proverbs 16:7. When your ways please the Lord, even your enemies will be at peace with you. Don't forget that. All right, come on.
In the first month, that is the month Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, they cast pur, that is the lot before Haman, from day to day, and from month to month, to the 12th month, that is the month Adar.
That's the month that we're in today, the month of Adar. The 12th moon, okay, the 12th month is the month of Adar. All right, because what's the next month?
First
Abib.
month? Oh, yeah, Abib. Yeah, that's right.
Passover.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yep. And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, There is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom. And their laws are diverse from all people. Neither keep they the king's laws. Therefore it is not for the king's profit to suffer them.
So it's a people that their laws differ from your laws, King. Okay, it's not good to keep them around. Their laws are diverse from everybody else's. They're different. Okay, it's no good to have them sitting amongst you. That's what he's telling them. This sounds kind of sort of like how we read about that Stephen of our people last night, right?
Mm-hmm.
Watch this. It's a lot of similarities to this history, and these things happen around the same times, around the same time of the years. Read them.
If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed. And I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hand of those that have the charge of the business, to bring it into the king's treasuries. And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it unto Haman, the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, the Jews' enemy.
The Jews what?
Enemy. So
Haman is the Jews' enemy. He made himself an enemy to the Jews. Okay, this wasn't forced, like Nicanor in that count. Okay, he made himself. Why? Because of the disrespect of Mordecai. He didn't bow to him. He didn't make obeisance to him. Right? Come on.
And the king said unto Haman, The silver is given to thee, the people also, to do with them as it seemeth good to thee. Then were the king's scribe called on the 13th day of the first month, and there was written according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's lieutenants, and to the governors that were over every province, and to the rulers of every people of every province, according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language. In the name of King Ahasuerus was it written, and sealed with the king's ring.
So he sealed that oath with his ring. Okay. But that oath was based upon what? A gift. Remember last night, it was that those gifts, man, they destroy the heart. Read on.
And the letters were sent by posts into all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Jews, both young and old, little children and women, in one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, and to take the spoil of them for a prey.
You see that? So it was a decree put out to kill men, women, children, everybody on the 13th day of the month Adar. That's interesting because what else happened on the 13th day in the month of Adar? What else happened in history? What are we celebrating today?
Yeah, it was Nicanor.
The destruction.
The destruction of Nicanor.
Right. Read on.
The copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, that they should be ready against that day. The posts went out, being hastened by the king's commandment, and the decree was given in Shushan the palace. And the king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city Shushan was perplexed. When Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes, and went out into the midst of the city and cried with a loud and bitter cry, and came even before the king's gate, and for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. And in every province whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was a great mourning among the Jews, and fasting, and weeping, and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes.
So much like we did during the time of the destruction of Nicanor, we did here. We made supplication to the Lord. We made great lamentations. Okay, we mourned, we asked and prayed, and asked the Most High to deliver us. Right? Y'all see the similarities here? Read on.
So Esther's maids and her chamberlains came and told it her. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai and to take away his sackcloth from him, but he received it not. They then called Esther for Hathach, one of the king's chamberlains, whom he had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai to know what it was and why it was.
So she wanted to get the information as to why he was mourning, what was going on, because she wasn't aware of it. Read on.
So Hathach went forth to Mordecai unto the street of the city, which was before the king's gate. And Mordecai told him of all that had happened unto him, and of the sum of the money that Haman had promised to pay to the king's treasury for the Jews, to destroy them. Also he gave him the copy of the writing of the decree that was given at Shushan to destroy them, to show it unto Esther, and to declare it unto her, and to charge her that she should go in unto the king to make supplication unto him, and to make requests before him for her people. And
so he wanted to remind her, listen, you in this place of position of authority, so to speak, because she was the queen, right? Now you need to act as such. You need to care for your nation. That's what he's reminding her of. Come on.
And Hathach came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. Again Esther spake unto Hathach and gave him commandment unto Mordecai. All the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces do know that whosoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king's into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of his to put him to death.
So that's the law. This is the law that we read earlier. Remember, unless he calls upon you and you come into the king's court, he'll kill you. All right. But he called Vashti in. She didn't come. All right. He didn't kill her. Okay. But he put her away. So this is that law. Read on.
Except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live. But I have not been called to come in unto the king these 30 days.
Read. So she's saying, listen, if I go, I can't go into the king unless he called me. Okay. And if I go into the king's court, he has to raise the golden scepter. I can't do that or I'll be put to death. So she was afraid because she saw the judgment that could come about if she didn't do what? If she wasn't called by the king, because that's the law that was governing that time at that time. Read on.
And they told to Mordecai Esther's words. Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Jews. For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy father...
Hold on. Read that again.
Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than
hold on. He said, don't think because you in the king's house you're going to escape. You're a Jew too. You're going to suffer that persecution. Don't think because of where you sit, you're absolved of that. This is the mindset of a lot of our people. They think because they're in big houses and they're in neighborhoods that's not, filled with our people, or they're not amongst our people, that nothing's going to happen to them. You are sorely mistaken. Okay. Read on.
For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this?
And he said, you don't know why you were put in this position. This is quite possibly the reason why you were made the queen. That he saw beauty in you and wanted to exhort you to be the queen. This is your opportunity. Okay, come on.
Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer: Go, gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days, and night nor day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise. And so will I go in unto the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish.
So if I die, I die. That's what she's saying. So send up prayers for me. She said, if I perish, I perish. Okay. So she was prepared to go in unto the king without being called. And she was prepared to face death because that would be the punishment according to the law of the king. Come on.
So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther had commanded him. Now it came to pass on the 3rd day that Esther put on her royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's house, over against the king's house. And the king sat upon his royal throne in the royal house, over against the gate of the house. And it was so, when the king saw Esther, the queen, standing in the court, that she obtained favor in his sight. And the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. So Esther drew near and touched the top of the scepter.
So she was okay. She put on her royal apparel, which she hated. She hated it. When you read the editions of Esther, she hated that thing. Okay, but she put it on her royal apparel so that the king could see favor in her and called her over. So she had to face death. So those prayers and that fasting, it availeth much. Yep. All right, read on.
Then said the king unto her, What wilt thou, Queen Esther, and what is thy request? It shall be given thee to the half of the kingdom. And Esther answered, If it seem good unto the king, let the king and Haman come this day unto the banquet that I have prepared for him.
So she's setting it up. This sister used much wisdom. Now remember those things. Don't forget the things I told y'all to remember from the beginning. Okay, don't forget those things. Now it's gonna play a part in understanding what's going on here. So Esther is setting the table to ask for whatever she wants. Okay, read on.
Then the king said, Cause Haman to make haste, that he may do as Esther hath said. So the king and Haman came to the banquet that Esther had prepared. And the king said unto Esther at the banquet of wine, What is thy petition? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? Even to the half of the kingdom it shall be performed. Then answered Esther and said, My petition and my request is, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it please the king to grant my petition and to perform my request, let the king and Haman come to the banquet that I shall prepare for them, and I will do tomorrow as the king has said.
So they called in Haman, and Esther said, listen, if you would hear my request upon this banquet, okay, I'll ask you at this banquet. That's pretty much what she's saying. I'm gonna ask you at this banquet, right? So she called Haman, and the king and Haman were there along with Esther, okay, and this conversation was had. So now the next day they're gonna have this banquet, right? Come on.
Creating that suspense.
Mm-hmm.
Then when Haman forth that day, joyful with a glad heart.
So he was excited. This brother went forth. Haman went forth after he met with the king and the queen. He thought, hey, he just knew he was in there. He knew he was good at that point, right? Come on.
But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he stood not up nor moved for him, he was full of indignation against Mordecai.
He said, this nigga still disrespecting me. He's still disrespecting me. He ain't gonna bow to me. He ain't gonna move out of my way. Come on.
Nevertheless, Haman refrained himself, and when he came home, he sent and called for his friends and Zeresh his wife. And Haman told them of the glory of his riches and the multitude of his children, and all the things wherein the king had promoted him, and how he had advanced him above the princes and servants of the king.
So he's bragging now about the position that he's about to get. Okay? He's bragging now about the position that he's about to get. He ain't obtained that position yet. But you know how you going for a promotion, and you go home and you prepare for that thing? Or you tell your wife, you tell your family, you get excited, you might buy a car too. You might buy a house.
You've been nominated, and you're
nah. In his mind, he was already promoted. Watch this. He gonna get a promotion.
Yeah.
Well, okay, demotion, I should say. But read on.
Verse 12. Haman said, moreover, yea, as to the queen, did let no man come in with the king unto the banquet that she had prepared, but myself.
See, so Esther, even the queen, look, hey, the queen called for this banquet, and it was only me, the queen, and the king, nobody else. So he's not in his head. Now think about that. You called into the president, the Oval Office with Obama and his wife. You're gonna think highly of yourself. Yeah. Man, I was called in with the president. I'm about to get some bread. I'm about to get a position or something.
Yeah, that's it.
I done made it.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
And tomorrow am I invited unto her also with the king. Yet all this availeth me nothing, so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate. So
he said, man, hey, I got this promotion. I got all this stuff. The queen, the king, they love me. I'm about to get this promotion. I gotta go to this banquet there tomorrow. But man, the damn Mordecai, man, dude, still disrespectful. Damn Jew. That's what he's saying. That's what the dude is saying. Damn Mordecai, man. I can't even enjoy this thing. This dude's still living. I can't even enjoy it. Come on.
It then said Zeresh his wife and all his friends unto him, let a gallows be made of 50 cubits high, and tomorrow speak thou unto the king that Mordecai may be hanged thereon. Then go thou in merrily with the king unto the banquet. And the thing pleased Haman, and he caused the gallows to be made.
So he set up the gallows so that he can hang Mordecai. He can get the permission from the king to hang him. Okay. So in his mind, he let his friends gas him up. He went in there and lied to them about the promotion and all this stuff. Okay. Went in there and let his wife and his friends gas his head up to set up this gallows so that he can hang Mordecai. So he can be fully happy. Okay. He can be fully happy. Come on.
On that night could not the king sleep, and he commanded to bring the book of records of the chronicles, and they were read before the king.
So the king could not sleep. Y'all think that's in and of himself? Mm-hmm. He was so anxious of the banquet he couldn't sleep? No. Everything, the Most High is the orchestrator of all things. He said, bring me the book of the chronicles of the kings. Not our chronicles, the chronicles of this kingdom here. Right? Read on.
And it was found written that Mordecai had told of Bigthana and Teresh, two of the king's chamberlains, the keepers of the door, who sought to lay hand on the king Ahasuerus. And the king said, "What honor and dignity have been done to Mordecai for this?"
So he asked them, how do we honor this brother for saving my life? How do we honor this brother for making known the plot against me? How do we honor this brother? That was the question. Come on.
Then said the king's servants that minister unto him, "There is nothing done for him."
We didn't do anything for him. That's what they said. That was all by design. Him speaking of those two against the king allowed him to gain favor with the king, first and foremost. So when he read in the book of the Chronicles, when he seen this act again, it reminded him, oh man, did we look out for this brother? Okay, because remember, he just made an oath with Haman, gave him his ring, signed it by his ring that he can kill the Jews. Now he's going through the book of the Chronicles of that kingdom, and he's like, man, this Jew saved me. Did we repay him? If y'all don't see that's the Most High at work,
Yeah.
there's no such thing as ironic, coincidental.
Coincidence, yeah.
Okay, come on.
And the king said, "Who is in the court?" Now Haman was come into the outward court of the king's house to speak unto the king to hang Mordecai on the gallows that he had prepared for him.
So he done got the gallows set up. Now this dude walking, he all excited. He think he gonna go in and get Mordecai killed and go and get that promotion, get that gold, get, you know what I'm saying, get that honor that he wanted in this banquet that's only for the king, the queen, and him. Okay, come on.
And the king's servant said unto him, "Behold, Haman standeth in the court." And the king said, "Let him come in." So Haman came in, and the king said unto him, "What shall be done unto the man whom the king delighted to honor?"
So
No.
he said, what should be done to a man that the king honors? So in his mind, what is he thinking? What is Haman thinking right now?
Man, I'm definitely getting this promotion, man.
He definitely, hey, so he gonna lay it on thick. He gonna lay that thing on thick. Man, he should get X, Y, and Z. He should get this, he should get that. He's outlining all the things that he wants. Mm-hmm. Right? Read on.
Now Haman thought in his heart, "To whom would the king delighted to do honor more than to myself?"
So who would the king think to honor more than me? Who would the king think? This brother had a lot of pride on him right here. Mm-hmm. Very, very prideful. Who could the king honor or want to honor more than me? That's the question that he asked. Brother had no wisdom. But read on.
And Haman answered the king, "For the man whom the king delighted to honor, let the royal apparel be brought which the king useth to wear, and the horse that the king rideth upon, and the crown royal which is set upon his head."
Wow. So give this man the crown royal, the clothes off your back, the horse you ride on. That's what he's telling him. That's what he's telling the king. Mm-hmm. Why? Because that's what he wants.
Yeah.
Read on.
"And let this apparel and horse be delivered to the hand of one of the king's most noble princes, that they may array the man withal whom the king delighted to honor, and bring him on horseback through the street of the city, and proclaim before him, thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delighted to honor."
So make it a spectacle. Bring your nobleman to dress him, bring the horse to him, okay, and make it notable. Read on.
Then the king said to Haman, "Make haste, and take the apparel and the horse, as thou hast said, and do even so to Mordecai the Jew."
So he told him, listen, you take the clothes, the horse, and all those things, and take it to Mordecai. So he was the most noble that was going to honor the one that the king reverenced. Yeah. So you take this stuff and you give it to Mordecai.
Say, hurry up.
Hurry up, make haste. And you give that to Mordecai. Read on.
Then the king said to Haman, "Make haste and take the apparel and the horse, as thou hast said, and do even so to Mordecai the Jew, that sitteth at the king's gate. Let nothing fail of all that thou hast spoken."
So everything that you mentioned, make sure you do all that. Honor him in the sight of everybody. Make sure you do all that. Everything that you mentioned, don't let none of that fail. Everything that you said out your doggone mouth. Come on.
Then took Haman the apparel and the horse, and arrayed Mordecai, and brought him on horseback through the street of the city, and proclaimed.
Ho. So he took the apparel, he took the horse, and he's parading this man throughout the city. How you think Haman felt? Because the sight of him, he wanted to kill him. He was prepared to kill. He was going in there to ask the king to put him to death. I'm telling you, the Most High is funny, bro. Hey, our Father is hilarious. This is the script that a movie couldn't even tell this. Mm-hmm. A movie couldn't even paint this picture properly. Come on.
Then took Haman the apparel and the horse, and arrayed Mordecai, and brought him on horseback through the street of the city, and proclaimed before him, thus shall it be done unto the man whom the king delighted to honor. Mordecai came again to the king's gate, but Haman hasted to his house mourning and having his head covered.
So he ain't happy now. He ran to the house crying. Hey, what they say? You know he gonna go crying in the car. He went in the house. He covered his head, man. Ran to his house. Go ahead.
And Haman told Zeresh his wife and all his friends everything that had befallen him. Then said his wise man and Zeresh his wife unto him, if Mordecai be of the seed of the Jews, before whom thou hast begun to fall, thou shalt not prevail against him, but thou shalt surely fall before him. And while they were yet talking with him, came the king's chamberlain and hasted to bring Haman unto the banquet that Esther had prepared.
So the thing about it. So he think he's gonna be honored, this, that, and the third. He ran home. So he had to parade Mordecai around and do all these acts. He ran home. Now he's upset. This dude is pissed. He crying, head covered. He's mourning, right? And now the chamberlains are rushing to go get him to go to this banquet. That's crazy. Think about the build up here. Now read on.
Book of Esther, chapter 7, verse 1. So the king and Haman came to banquet with Esther the queen. And the king said again unto Esther on the second day at the banquet of wine, what is thy petition, Queen Esther? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? And it shall be performed, even to the half of the kingdom. Then Esther the queen answered and said, if I have found favor in thy sight, O king, and if it please the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request.
So let my life and my people be given to thee at this request. She was asking for herself and for her people this request right here. Now, read on.
Verse 4. For we are sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be slain, and to perish.
So how much were they sold for? I'm going to see if y'all paying attention.
10,000 silver.
Was it 10,000?
Yeah. Yeah, the 10,000. Yeah, 10,000 pieces of silver. And let's see. I will pay 10,000 talents of silver. Yeah.
10,000 talents of silver. All praises. Sis, she following along too. All praises. Everybody, I just make sure everybody there. 10,000 talents of silver. We were sold. It says, I and my people, for we are sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be slain, and to perish. Come on.
But if we have been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I had held my tongue, although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage. Then the king Ahasuerus answered and said unto Esther the queen, who is he and where is he that durst presume in his heart to do so?
So who is he that's gonna kill you and your people, and that has it in his heart to do so? Where the hell is this guy at? Who is he? Yeah, that's what he asking. Who is this? Come on.
And Esther said, the adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman.
What'd she say?
The adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman.
Say this wicked Haman, this bastard right here that's in front of you, king. He made a decree. He put, hey, we're sold to die by his hands. Come on.
And then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen.
So he was afraid now. He afraid now. So all this stuff is happening back to back to back. Okay, the evil that he thought to do against the people of the Most High is backfiring on him now. Okay, not knowing that the queen, he put a decree out to kill the Jews, not knowing that the queen was a Jew. Come on.
And the king, arising from the banquet of wine in his wrath, went into the palace, in the palace garden, and Haman stood up to make request for his life to Esther the queen.
So now he asking this Jew that he wanted to kill all of them, save my life. Please don't let me die. Come on.
For he saw that there was evil determined against him by the king.
So he saw that the king was going to kill him now. So he's begging the Jew that he wanted to kill to save his life. You see how the tables turned?
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Then the king returned out of the palace garden into the place of the banquet of wine, and Haman was fallen upon the bed whereon Esther was.
So he was put in a place now to be put to death where he was trying to put Esther at and her people. Come on.
Then said the king, will he force the queen also before me in the house?
Man, will he force the queen? He gonna try to take my wife before me in my house? Come on.
As the word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. And Harbona, one of the chamberlains, said before the king, behold also the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman had made for Mordecai, who had spoken good for the king, standeth in the house of Haman.
Oh man, listen. Now they snitching on him. Now they telling on him. He gonna try to kill my wife, kill her nation. And you mean to tell me I just had you honor Mordecai? You gonna try to kill him too? You put gallows to hang this man? Read on.
Then the king said, hang him thereon.
So he didn't know that he was crafting the daggone tool of his death. He thought to do Mordecai evil. He was crafting his own death weapon. Come on.
So they hanged Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Then was the king's wrath pacified.
So he killed him, and the king was fine. Read on.
On that day did the king Ahasuerus give the house of Haman, the Jews' enemy, unto Esther the queen.
So he gave Esther the ability to rule over their household. Okay, his 10 sons, his house, his wife, his advisors, friends, everybody associated. Read on.
And Mordecai came before the king, for Esther had told what he was unto her.
So Esther let the king know that this was her father, her surrogate father. Mm-hmm. Come on.
And the king took up his ring, which he had taken from Haman, and gave it unto Mordecai. And Esther set Mordecai over the house of Haman.
So Esther set Mordecai over the house of Haman. Think about this. Y'all see, hey, they was the main ones. They told Haman to build the gallows to kill this man.
No, they got an answer to him.
Now they got an answer to this man. Come on.
And Esther spake yet again before the king, and fell down on his feet, and besought him with tears to put away the mischief of Haman the Agagite, and his device that he had devised against the Jews. And then the king held out the golden scepter to Esther. So Esther arose and stood before the king, and said, if it please the king, and if I have found favor in his sight, and the thing seemed right before the king, and I be pleasing in his eyes, let it be written to reverse the letters devised by Haman, the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, which he wrote to destroy the Jews, which are in all the king's provinces.
So you got to think about it. Information don't travel like it traveled today. So if he sent letters out, he got to go and reverse those letters now. Why? Because the people will start trying to kill our nation. They'll start trying to kill them. Okay, you can't just send out a text and then everybody got it. They sent letters by post. It would take days, months, years to get where it need to get. Okay, so she asked. That's why she went in immediately to ask him to reverse that thing. Why? So as they were receiving those other letters, they could it could be reversed before anybody was put to death. All right, come on.
Verse 6. For how can I endure to see the evil that shall come unto my people? Or how can I endure to see the destruction of my kindred? Then the king Ahasuerus said unto Esther the queen and to Mordecai the Jew, Behold, I had given Esther the house of Haman, and him they have hanged upon the gallows, because he laid his hand upon the Jews.
So hey, I gave him to you because he tried to put your nation to death. He tried to touch my queen and her people. Okay. That's some heavy stuff right there. It says because he laid his hand upon the Jews, not because he believed in God or anything. Okay. But their ways pleased the Lord, and the enemy became at peace with them. All right. Read on.
Write ye also for the Jews as it liketh you, in the king's name, and seal it with the king's ring. For the writing which is written in the king's name and sealed with the king's ring, may no man reverse.
So you write whatever you need. He tell him write whatever you want. Think about that power that he's giving them. They can make any decree, and it's law. It's a law under the king's name. Okay, and this signet is gonna nobody can reverse this. Once the signet is made by the king's ring. Y'all ever seen somebody, they would take wax, they would seal the letter, take wax, and then put the little seal on there, close the letter. Nobody can reverse that once it's done. This is what's happening right here. Okay, come on. So we're reading about USPS, the postal service, the postal service, how that worked and how the letters work. But read on.
Then were the king's scribe called at that time in the 3rd month, that is the month Sivan, on the 3 and 20th day thereof. On the 3 and 20th day thereof, and it was written according to all that Mordecai commanded unto the Jews and to the lieutenants and the deputies and rulers of the provinces which are from India unto Ethiopia, and 127 provinces, unto every province according to the writing thereof, and unto every people after their language, and to the Jews according to their writing and according to their language.
So he put it in all those different languages, those different tongues. He made it a law and a decree amongst all the 127 provinces. Okay. Read.
And he wrote in the king Ahasuerus' name, and sealed it with the king's ring, and sent letters by posts on horseback and riders, on mules, camels, and young dromedaries, wherein the king granted the Jews which were in every city to gather themselves together, and to stand for their life, to destroy, to slay, and to cause to perish all the power of the people and province that would assault them.
So he said in the letter, it told them to stand and take arms against everybody that was going to try to kill you, or that had evil intent against you. Come on.
Both little ones and women, and to take the spoil of them for a prey.
So take little ones, women, whoever. And whoever you kill, take the spoil for prey. Come on.
Upon one day in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus, namely upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, the copying of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, and that the Jews should be ready against that day to avenge themselves on their enemies.
So now they can avenge themselves of all these, because remember, the letter went out, so they start attacking. Okay, these things, they put their hands on us. This thing was reversed, and immediately we were able to take vengeance against them, against our enemies. Come on.
So the posts that rode upon mules and camels were now being hastened and pressed on by the king's commandment, and the decree was given at Shushan the palace. And Mordecai went out from the presence of the kings in royal apparel of blue and white, and with a great crown of gold, and with a garment of fine linen and purple. And the city of Shushan rejoiced and was glad.
Read.
The Jews had light and gladness and joy and honor.
So these colors that are mentioned that Mordecai put on, okay, the Jews had light and gladness and joy and honor. Okay, throw some lights up. Come on.
And in every province and in every city whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, the Jews had joy and gladness, a feast and a good day. And many of the people of the land became Jews, for the fear of the Jews fell upon them.
They followed the commandments because they feared that if they didn't, the Jews that was in that land was going to kill them. Okay, they became Jews because they start partaking of our laws and customs. That don't mean that they really became Jews. Okay, they were obedient to what we were doing, because if they weren't, what do we have the power to do? Put their butt to death. Put them to death. Okay, So it said the Jews had joy and gladness. So we're going to bring this thing in joy and gladness in this month of Adar. It says, and many of the people of the land, no, I'm sorry. It says in every province and in every city, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, the Jews had joy and gladness and a feast and a good day. So we're going to, feast. We're going to make this thing a good day in remembrance of everything that transpired. The deliverance of those that do right by the Most High, even in captivity. Come on.
Esther chapter 9 and verse 1. Now in the 12th month, that is the month Adar, on the 13th day of the same, when the king's commandment and his decree drew near to be put in execution, in the day that the enemies of the Jews hoped to have power over them, though it was turned to the contrary, that the Jews have ruled over them that hated them.
You see that? So on the 13th day of the month Adar, which is ironically the day of destruction of Nicanor, that observance, right? It was the decree put out that the enemies was going to kill us. But that thing was overturned on that very day. Come on.
The Jews gathered themselves together in their cities throughout all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus to lay hand on such as sought their hurt, and no man could withstand them, for the fear of them fell upon all people.
So the fear of the Jews fell upon all people. This is going to happen again. Our destruction, all that, the captivity, all that's going to be overturned, and the fear of us going to fall upon them again. Okay, when Christ set things back in order, he's going to make Jews of a lot of people. He's going to make believers of a lot of people. They're going to have that same fear that come upon them. Okay. And it says they went to lay hands on such as sought their hurt. Now think about this. Think about this for a second. These people it was like the purge getting ready to happen. They had their weapons ready, and on the 13th day, they was supposed to execute that thing. Okay? They prepared and ready to kill them. Now we can fight back. That thing was reversed. Okay, read on.
Verse 3, and all the rulers of the provinces, and the lieutenants, and the deputies, and officers of the king helped the Jews, because the fear of Mordecai fell upon them.
So all the captains, the men that the king set up to institute this decree, helped the Jews. Okay, come on.
For Mordecai was great in the king's house, and his fame went out throughout all the provinces. For this man Mordecai waxed greater and greater.
So after the king gave him his ring, made him one of his chief men within his kingdom, he began to be greater and greater. Okay, come on.
Thus the Jews smote all their enemies with the stroke of the sword, and slaughter and destruction, and did what they would unto those that hated them. And in Shushan the palace the Jews slew and destroyed 500 men. And Parshantada, and Dalphman, and Aspatha, and Portha, and Adalia, and Aritha, and Parmashta, and Arisai, and Aridai, and Vajisata. The 10 sons of Haman, the sons of Hamedatha, the enemy of the Jews, slew they, but on the spoil lay they not their hand.
So they killed the 10 sons, okay, and didn't take none for spoil. Come on.
On that day, the number of those that were slain in Shushan the palace was brought before the king. And the king said unto Esther the queen, the Jews have slain and destroyed 500 men in Shushan the palace. And the 10 sons of Haman, what have they done in the rest of the king's provinces? Now what is thy petition? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request further? And it shall be done. Then said Esther, if it please the king, let it be granted to the Jews which are in Shushan to do tomorrow according unto this day's decree, and let Haman's 10 sons be hanged upon the gallows.
So she want his 10 sons to be hanged. The same gallows they was going to hang Mordecai, she want them to be hanged on. Come on.
And the king commanded it so to be done. And the decree was given at Shushan, and they hanged Haman's 10 sons. For the Jews that were in Shushan gathered themselves together on the 14th day also of the month Adar, and slew 300 men of Shushan, but on the prey they laid not their hand.
So this
But-
is the 14th day. Keep that in mind. The 14th day of the month of Adar. Come on.
But the other Jews that were in the king's provinces gathered themselves together and stood for their lives, and had rest from their enemies, and slew of their foes 75,000. But they laid not their hands on the prey. On the 13th day of the month Adar, and on the 14th day of the same rested day, and made it a day of feasting and gladness.
So they made it a day of feasting and gladness. Come on.
But the Jews that were at Shushan assembled together on the 13th day thereof, and on the 14th day thereof, and on the 15th day of the same they rested, and made it a day of feasting and gladness.
So on the 14th and 15th day, they rested and made it a day of feasting and gladness. Okay. On the 13th day, they killed 75,000. They hanged the 10 men. Okay. Read.
Therefore the Jews of the villages that dwelt in the unwalled towns made the 14th day of the month Adar a day of gladness and feasting, and a good day, and of sending portions one to another. And Mordecai wrote these things and sent letters unto all the Jews that were in all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus, both nigh and far, to establish this among them, that they should keep the 14th day of the month Adar, and the 15th day of the same yearly.
So this is a yearly decree established by Mordecai that we rest, we feast. Okay. We make it a good day in remembrance of the things that transpired, in remembrance of the turning of the devices of the evil enemies against us, against themselves, right? So this was decreed for the 14th and 15th day of the same yearly. So every year we observe the feast of Purim. All right, come on.
Verse 22, as the days wherein the Jews rested from their enemies, and the month which was turned unto them from sorrow to joy, and from mourning into a good day, that they should make them days of feasting and joy, and of sending portions one to another.
So we're going to make it a day of feasting and joy, sending portions one to another. I'm going to send some food to y'all. Y'all send me some food. We're going to eat. We're going to have a good time. We got rest from our enemies. We good. Come on.
And gifts to the poor.
And gifts to the poor. So this is one of the only high holy days where you read about gift giving. Okay. This is one of the only high holy days that you read about the giving of gifts. Keep that in mind. So, hey, give gifts to the poor of your people. Send some food. I like food. We're gonna send some food one to another, man. Feast it up, have a good time amongst yourselves. Okay, with family. Read.
And the Jews undertook to do as they had begun, and as Mordecai had written unto them, because Haman the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, the enemy of all the Jews, had devised against the Jews to destroy them, and had cast pur, that is, the lot to consume them and to destroy them. But when Esther came before the king, he commanded by letters that his wicked device, which he devised against the Jews, should return upon his own head, and that he and his sons should be hanged on the gallows. Wherefore they call these days Purim, after the name of Pur. Therefore, for all the words of this letter and of that which they had seen concerning this matter, and which had come unto them, the Jews ordained and took upon them and upon their seed and upon all such as join themselves unto them, so as it should not fail that they would keep these 2 days according to their writing and according to their appointed time every year.
So this is a decree made by Mordecai as a remembrance, as an observance. So it's not a high holy day, so to speak. Okay, established or ordained by the Most High. Okay, but it's a day of observance and remembrance. So can you buy and sell? Can you cook on this day? Yes. All right, read on.
And that this day should be remembered and kept throughout every generation, every family, every province, every city, and that these days of Purim should not fail from among the Jews, nor the memorial of them perish from their seed. Then Esther the queen, the daughter of Abihail, and Mordecai the Jew wrote with all authority to confirm this second letter of Purim. And he sent letters unto all the Jews, to the 120 and 7 provinces of the kingdom of Ahasuerus with words of peace and truth, to confirm these days of Purim in their times appointed, according as Mordecai the Jew and Esther the queen had enjoined them, and as they had decreed from themselves and for their seed the matters of fasting and their cry. And the decree of Esther confirmed this matters of Purim, and it was written in the book.
So it's written in the book. Okay. It's written in our books, and they actually wrote it in their chronicles as well. Chronicles of that kingdom to make sure that it was established. All right, read on.
And the king Ahasuerus laid a tribute upon the land and upon the isles of the sea, and all the acts of his power and of his might, and the declaration of the greatness of Mordecai, whereunto the king advanced him, are they not written in the book of Chronicles of the kings of Media and Persia? For Mordecai the Jew was next unto King Ahasuerus, and great among the Jews.
So he was next unto the king. Think about that. He was next unto the king. So he was the second in command, as Joseph was second to Pharaoh. Come on.
And accepted of the multitude of his brethren, seeking the wealth of his people, and speaking peace to all his seed.
So he didn't take that position and say, I'm a make myself or keep myself rich and live in this position. No. What was his care for his people? That's why he had to remind Esther of that thing. Okay. And he let her know, listen, this may be the reason why you were made queen, so that you can establish this, so you can make this happen. Okay. But it said, for Mordecai the Jew was next unto the king Ahasuerus, and great among the Jews, and accepted of the multitude of his brethren. So he was accepted of his brothers. It says, seeking the wealth of his people. So he didn't seek the wealth of his own or himself. He sought the wealth of his people. So as he began to be greater and greater, he was uplifting his people in the process. Okay, he was uplifting his people in the process. Then it says, and speaking peace to all his seed. So he was able to speak peace to all his seed. Why? Because they were able to move freely. They were able to avenge their enemies. They were able to do all those things. Why? Proverbs 16:7. One more time.
Proverbs chapter 16 and verse 7. When a man's way pleased the Lord, he maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him.
Was Mordecai his friend, or was he his enemy? I mean, was Ahasuerus or Haman, were they his friends? Were they Mordecai friends or enemies? They was enemies. Yeah. All these nations are your damn enemies. They ain't your friends. Even the nice ones. We read that last night. Even the nice ones, they're your enemies. Okay? Remember, Ahasuerus signed the decree to allow them to kill the Jews. Mm-hmm. That's not something a friend would do. Come on now. We gotta keep that in remembrance.
No. He didn't hesitate neither.
Nah, he was like, all right, 10,000 pieces of silver. All right, that's what it is. You gonna bring that into my storehouse? Go ahead. I decree that thing. Here go my ring. Seal that thing. It was nothing. All right. But everybody serves a purpose. The Most High bringeth up one, put it down another. Everything is in regards to the order of the Most High God. And I hope y'all see how that thing played out, man. It wasn't like no cheesy Tyler Perry movie. You know what I'm saying? Like that plot got thick. The plot got thick, and then everything happened. It flipped, turned, and man, it's suspenseful. Okay, that thing played out beautifully. It's like we're watching it over again. All right, but this is why Purim was instituted, the salvation of our people. Okay, and I mean that's it. That's all we got. Any questions? I mean, you just read. You don't get no better than that. You know? Any questions? We got any questions? I've seen a few people try to contact me or call me, man. I can't. Well, I'm in class, man. I can't talk, man. We doing class, people. You see any questions online, bro?
Nah, none online.
All right, we'll go ahead and break bread.
quick. Let's see.
I love reading our history, man, and actually, it's like it's putting us back there. You know what I'm saying? It's like it put us back there, man. So, it's beautiful. You get to understand why we celebrate what we celebrate, why we do what we do. Okay, the giving of gifts, the decorations, the lights, things of that nature. Okay, why those things observed? Why are we happy during this time? Why are we feasting? All that's explained, man. All we got to do is read. That's it. Seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read.
And read.
All praises, sisters. All praises. Glad y'all enjoy reading with us. We're gonna do more classes like this too. You know what I'm saying? To understand that history. Brothers been telling me we need to do more classes where we're reading. It's not more so let's precept this for precept that. Now let's get into the history of what's going on, why we do what we do. And this will help us better understand proper precepts. You know what I'm saying? It help us understand how we can gather things here a little and there a little. Right? You must understand the history. You must read your Bible. It would behoove you to pick your doggone Bibles up and read it. Okay? A lot of us, like myself, a couple of the brothers mentioned, man, you gotta listen to the Bible. I remember I used to work 17, 16-hour shifts, man. Going back and forth all over North Carolina to different I worked at different car lots. I had to drive from one on this side of the city all the way to the other dance going side of the city. I ain't had no time to sit down and really look at my Bible, but I had the responsibility of leading brothers. So what did I have to do? I had to get the understanding. So I would listen, man. I would listen to I would listen on my Bluetooth to the Bible app. I created a precept MP3 I would listen to. You know what I'm saying? With nothing but precepts on that thing. I had to make sure I put forth the effort because nobody was going. You can't learn by osmosis. You can't learn just by holding the Bible. Oh, you holding the Bible now. You're like, I got it. This ain't the Matrix where you plug in and the understanding just comes. No, gotta read the Bible, man. You must read the Bible. All right, that's something my people hate doing. But guess what? This is the only thing I like to read. In books pertaining to the scriptures, it's the only thing I like to read. I don't like to read nothing else. You give me an instruction manual, I'm like, I'll figure it out. I go to IKEA, I see the instructions, I'm like, I'll figure it out. This is the only book I would dig into and actually love to read and want to learn how to figure it out. This is the only instruction manual I ever pick up to really glean from. Everything else, man, I'm missing screws, pieces missing over here. I'm like, I'll put it together. I don't do that with the scriptures. This is the only thing I don't do it with. Okay.
For me, I don't know, for some reason, I always end up with like extra equipment. I said, well, you know what? They always send extra anyway.
Like, how I get 20 screws left? Hold on, something ain't right. You're like, man, something ain't right here. Something ain't right. I know I got it. These screws go somewhere. Where the hell these screws go?
Then I go back and read the manual and I said, well, I ain't taking that down now.
Hey, it's above me now. Oh man. Hey, it's up. It's standing, it's sturdy. Hey, it could be rickety just a little bit, man. It is what it is. I'll put some wood. Hey, look, I'll put some wood on it. I'll use 2 screws, put some wood on the back, and stable now. Boom, I'm done. All praises. Let me see. We got any? Praise the highest. Have no questions. You brothers broke down the understanding of the whole book. Beautiful. All praises, says. It's a beautiful history lesson. It's a sight to behold. Thank you, brothers. Thank you, sister, for, I saw you paying attention and everything, too. So all praise. That means a lot. That means that we're learning. We're listening. We're learning. All praises. I love y'all spirit, man. All praises to the Most High. I watched many classes, and this is the only place that gives the complete sense and reading of the scriptures. Very edifying. All praises, sis. That's the only book you read, too? Hey, it's right. I bought a movie in 2007 that is about the Book of Esther. It's called One Night with the King. It's a great movie to watch, despite the characters. I think I saw that too, Sis Yuri. I think I saw that too. Yeah, it is a good read. They got never mind. All praise to Most High for this beautiful lesson. Love the Book of Esther. All praise to Jamie. All praise. Glad y'all got something from it, man. Glad y'all got something from it. Like I said, we're gonna read more history. Definitely gotta read more history. You know, definitely. It's beautiful, man. That thing just puts something in my spirit. You know, start reading about my foreparents, the wisdom they use, and then I think about situations where I had to use wisdom in this world. You know what I'm saying? This current state is just beautiful, man. And if your ways please the Most High God, even your enemies will be at peace with you, even today. Even today. That's why I kept reading that Proverbs 16. It's important we understand that. Even in captivity. They obtained these positions in captivity. Am I correct? All this was done in captivity. All this favor was given to them in captivity.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
All right, let's go and break bread, bro.
Yes, sir. All right. This is the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 11, and verse 23. For I have received of the Lord that which also I deliver unto you, that the Lord Jesus, the same night in which he was betrayed, took bread. And when he had given thanks, he brake it and said, Take, eat, this is my body which is broken for you. This do in remembrance of me. After the same manner also he took the cup when he had supped, saying, This cup is the New Testament in my blood. This do ye as oft as ye drink it in remembrance of me. For as often as ye eat this bread and drink this cup, ye do show the Lord's death till he come. Wherefore whosoever shall eat this bread and drink this cup of the Lord unworthily shall be guilty of the body and blood of the Lord. But let a man examine himself, and so let him eat of that bread and drink of that cup. For he that eateth and drinketh unworthily eateth and drinketh damnation to himself, not discerning the Lord's body. For this cause many are weak and sickly among you, and many sleep. In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, we pray unto you, Father. Amen.
Amen. So all praise to the Most High. I expect to hear and see y'all brothers and sisters making today a good day at evening, feasting. Okay. If you want to learn how to feast, you can check out my YouTube. Discover Flavor. I got some feasts. I got some feast ideas for you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Cooking up a little something. Y'all check it out. You know, but hey, let's feast. Let's have a good time. Let's enjoy each other. Get some gifts. You know, everybody always crying broke. I know this time of year, everybody rich. They're rich for like 2 days. They get their tax money. Everybody rich for like 2 days, and then they broke again. I know people get like $10,000, $12,000 for taxes. They balling outrageous, get everything they want. They broke in 3 weeks. Okay, that's our people. Truth, that's the truth of the matter. You know, and our people spend it before they get it, man. Spend it before they get it. Hey, this year I challenge y'all, man. Use y'all stuff wisely. Okay, we got Passover coming. We got a trip to Passover we got to make. You know, you can put some funds towards that. Use this stuff wisely, man. Use the stuff of this world wisely. Don't use it to fulfill your lust and stuff like that, man. Use it in righteousness. All right. That's all I got. I'll be here talking all day. All right, family. Love y'all, man. Peace and blessings to all of y'all. Lord's will, we'll see y'all on Tuesday. I might even do a class on Monday because this is some stuff I want to talk about. I got some things I want to talk about, man. You know. So stay tuned. Stay glued to Facebook, YouTube. We're gonna, once we go live, y'all come check us out now. And with that, we say shalom.
Shalom, family.
Shalom, family. Peace and blessings.
light shine before me. Let your light shine. Let your light shine. Let your light shine before me. Doesn't it feel good to